My name is Tina. It happened in my second year of marriage. One day, out of the blue, my husband left, leaving behind just a single note. And on that note, there was just one sentence: "I'm going to live with my lover." I thought it was some kind of joke and waited for him to return. But he didn't come home the next morning either. I couldn't reach him by phone either. Engulfed in the sadness of betrayal, 3 years passed. "Mom, it's been 3 years since Dad left. He's not coming back. You should get a divorce and start a new life." I finally decided to divorce a few months ago after hearing that from my daughter. And now, I'm living with a new sense of purpose, having finalized the divorce from my husband. However, I received a voicemail on my phone. "Hey! I'm coming home tonight. Let me stay." My husband, who had been unreachable no matter how much I contacted him, suddenly called and said he's coming home tonight, just like that. Just when I finally divorced and sorted out my feelings, what is he thinking? I listened to his voice on the voicemail over and over again, unchanged from before. Arrogant and self-centered as ever. Our marriage had started with an arranged meeting. Worried about my inability to find a lover, my parents introduced me. Without my knowing, they had arranged a meeting, and under their insistence, I went. When I met him, he seemed refreshing and dependable, leading the way. I thought I could feel secure with him. That was probably due to my lack of experience. Once we married, he turned out to be very selfish. His leading was a misconception, he just wanted things his way. When we had a child, he seemed reassured and started coming home late, immersing himself in work. But I was relieved he was focusing on work rather than having an affair. And then, in our 23rd year of marriage, he disappeared. Our daughter, who had started working, was 22 and distressed by her father's sudden absence. I felt the same, unsure of what to do after being abruptly abandoned by my husband. Having not worked since marriage, I didn't know how to support myself. The one saving grace was that this betrayal happened after my daughter had grown up. If she had been a child, I couldn't have raised her alone. But in a house without my husband, the time spent crying seemed eternal, and the days were long and hard. I spent a year looking for my husband every day. I even went to his company to see if he had been showing up for work. But he had quit his job, without telling me. As a year passed, I started to get used to life without my husband and began to reflect on myself. Why did I depend on such a selfish man? Why did I think I loved him? He cheated, ran off with another woman, and abandoned his family. Whatever he's doing or wherever he is, I don't care anymore. It took a year to feel this way. Looking back, what a waste of a year it was. But even more so, the 23 years that came before it seem even more wasteful. If I had known a day would come when he would leave us, I wouldn't have tried so hard for his and our family's sake. 2 years later, my daughter got married. We had supported each other as a mother and daughter. My daughter said she couldn't leave me. "Mom, let's live together." I was so happy to hear that. Having braced myself for abandonment again. But won't he feel suffocated living with me? "Don't worry, he's the one who suggested it." Fearing being alone, I shed tears and accepted my daughter's offer. Meeting my future in-laws. Both of them were there together. I felt sad that I was alone, wondering why it was just me. But it couldn't be helped. There are people in the world who lost their husbands early and live in loneliness. I just happened to be one whose husband left. I kept telling myself that, forcing a smile. How pitiful I felt. Ideally, both parents should attend their daughter's wedding. In the end, it was just me, and I couldn't help but feel sorry for my daughter, thinking she might feel embarrassed. It was all because of my selfish husband. If he had thought about his family, none of this would have happened. Why did he leave his family for another woman? No matter how much time passes and I think about it, my anger only grows. It's not just his betrayal of me, but the pain he caused our daughter that's unforgivable. Maybe that's why I decided to divorce. And now, this unexpected voicemail. What should I do? Should I call him back? As I stared at my husband's phone number, I wondered if I should call. But it was the number that never connected, no matter how much I called before. What if it doesn't connect again? What if I'm ignored again? I had just made the big decision to divorce, but am I going to be upset again? Another voice in my head says, no. I don't want my life to be disturbed by that man again. Well, if it's something important, he'll call back, won't he? I'm not his wife anymore. I don't need to worry about him. He's got his lover, after all. Once I made up my mind, I went to my daughter, Emily, and told her about the voicemail from her father, Henry. She didn't change her expression and said, oh, typical of him to be so selfish. If he wants to stay, let him, but I wonder where he thinks he's going to stay. Indeed, that was true. We had long since canceled the lease on the apartment where the three of us lived. It was about 3 hours later. I was squinting at the drawing my grandson was making on my lap when my rarely used phone rang. Wondering who it could be, I looked at the screen and it read Henry. Oh, I forgot to change the contact name. Thinking this, I set my grandson down and went into my room. Hello? Hey! Where are you right now? What? What do you mean what? I told you I'm coming home tonight. Didn't you check your messages? I did, but I thought to myself, he hasn't changed. He's been missing for 3 years, and the first thing should be an apology, right? But instead, this is how he starts. I couldn't help but think it was good we separated. Hey! Why is there nothing in the room? What's going on? In the room? Where are you? I'm at home, of course. Home? You mean our old place? Of course. You're inside? Yes, obviously. Stop asking the same thing. Why is there nothing in the room? Answer me. We moved out. Why didn't you tell me before moving? After you said you're gonna live with your lover, I couldn't reach you no matter how much I tried. Ah. Henry was silent, maybe realizing his mistake. He always did this. When things don't go his way, he becomes silent. How can you have a conversation with someone who stops talking? I always had to be the one to give in. But not this time. If he doesn't speak, I don't need to either. Then I heard my son-in-law say, bathroom is available, let's take a shower. Of course, he was talking to my grandson. Huh? Where are you? It's personal information, I don't need to tell you. What? We're married, it's not personal information. Oh, unfortunately, we're not married anymore. What are you talking about? Did you go senile while I was gone? No, we're not married because after you disappeared for 3 years, I filed for divorce. Why? Because you. Why are you saying I'm the one who acted selfishly? Selfishly? Me? Yes, you. How could you divorce me without consulting me? How was I supposed to consult you? How can I contact and discuss with someone who's unreachable? I couldn't reach you, didn't know where you were, so I endured for 3 years and finally got my emotions sorted out. That's why I decided to divorce. But that's just too selfish. Selfish? You're the one who left a single note and disappeared. And with just a line about living with your lover? Do you know how much pain that caused me and our daughter? Divorce is only natural under these circumstances? That's because you're always so careless. I wrote I was going to live with my lover, but I never wrote about divorcing. Do you really think that excuse is going to work? Just saying you're going to live with someone else is shocking enough, and then no contact after that? Anyone would naturally think you wanted a divorce. No, that's not it. Anyway, you're the one who left. Enjoy your life with your lover. No, wait. I broke up with her. What? So, we can start over. Start over? Yes, I left her to come back to you. You should be grateful. Grateful? You must be joking. Why should I be grateful? Don't be ridiculous. I have no intention of starting over with you. Is it because you have a lover? What? How could you even think that? Don't lump me in with you. But it's true, isn't it? I heard a young man's voice earlier. But I'm a generous man. Even if you were playing around with a young guy, I'll forgive you this time. You must have been lonely and ran to him, but in the end, you're just being played. How can you be so foolish? What did you say? I'm saying I'm forgiving you. That was my daughter's husband. What? Our daughter got married? Yes, she did. And you're living with her and her husband? Yes, we are, along with my grandchild. Are you happy? Of course. Being with my adorable grandchild all the time, what could be happier? Why? What? Why are you the only one who gets to be happy? I've lost everything. What? You're the one who left for another woman, you must have been happier. That's not it. What happened, then? Since you're telling, might as well tell me everything. Why did you suddenly disappear? Why did that woman fall in love with you? 3 years ago, I was drinking at a bar. That's where I met her, sitting next to me. We hit it off while drinking together and started going out for meals a few times. I got serious about her. She said she was serious about me too. Every time I tried to go home, she'd cry, saying she wanted to stay with me. So, you decided to live together? Yeah, exactly. How old was she? In her late 30s. You were dating someone so much younger. Yes, compared to you, everything was so fresh. It felt good to be wanted. So, you left your family for a woman more than 20 years younger? Yes, so what? Then you should have stayed with her. She liked you that much. No, she found another man. Oh, that's too bad. He is younger and stronger than me. I never thought she'd leave me. She took everything and left. Just a note saying she found someone she loved. I couldn't believe it. I waited for days, but she never came back. Waited 1 month, 2 months, still nothing. Finally, I realized after 3 months that waiting was pointless. You two were similar. How? Just a note with a single line. Yeah, I thought we were similar. But waiting for someone who's run away is useless. Then I remembered you. I thought you were waiting for me. You're really delusional. You gave up after 3 months, but it took me a year. A year? You waited a year for me? That's a nice thought. It took me a year to make a clean break. It's not easy to go back after that. Don't tell me you're also giving up on me? I didn't give up, I was abandoned, so I divorced. I have nowhere to live. No job, don't know what to do. You quit by yourself. Well, I chose to resign. For her, right? Yeah, I loved her. I thought about living together somewhere else. Work was just getting in the way. You got what you deserved, huh? What are you saying? You think you did nothing wrong? Huh? You had faults too. Like what? You neglected me. Excuse me? When I said I was working late, you didn't care. You didn't notice I was having an affair. You were always so focused on our daughter. That's why I turned to another woman. It's all your fault. I see. Well, then there's no need to be with such a terrible woman, right? Good thing we divorced, huh? No, that's not it. I realized you're still the one for me. Too late for that realization now. We're already divorced. No, if we're divorced, we can just remarry. Don't say such convenient things. I have absolutely no desire to get back with you. Why not? I don't have anywhere to live. You can look for a place to live. That's harder than just living with you. I refuse. I have no intention of letting a stranger like you into my home. Mom, dinner's ready. Oh, my daughter's calling. Dinner's ready, so I have to go. How about talking after dinner? No, we're going to watch TV with the family after dinner. Watching TV with my grandson is much more enjoyable than alone. That's not fair. You're happy and I'm not. Henry's shouting could be heard, but I ignored it and hung up the phone. When I went to the living room and told my daughter Emily about Henry, she openly showed anger but didn't say anything. However, the next day, something happened. Henry contacted Emily.
Emily, it's your dad.
Who did you say?
Your dad. I heard you got married. Congratulations. Are you happy? I heard from your mom that you have a grandchild. Show me your child's face.
Are you joking?
What?
I told my husband that you disappeared. What are you planning to do by showing up now? You have a lover, right? Just be happy with her.
I broke up with her. Young lovers are fickle.
How old was she? In her late 30s. That's creepy.
What?
Getting obsessed with such a young woman and quitting your job? Don't come here, I don't want to see you.
Hey, we're family.
Mom and you are divorced, didn't she tell you?
Yeah, I heard.
Then you should understand. You and I are strangers now.
The bond between a parent and child doesn't just break that easily.
And my father disappeared 3 years ago. Do you know how hard it was to be abandoned by my father? And now you say she was in her late 30s? You're just ridiculous.
I had no choice. She didn't want to leave me.
Oh, great. Thanks to that, Mom suffered a lot. Searching for you, walking everywhere. You know how shocked she was when she found out you quit your job? I kinda understand.
I was mentally wrecked too. I was afraid of being abandoned again even when I found someone I liked. And it's all because of you.
Well, I had a hard time too.
That's because you chose that path. We had to walk the path we were forced into. It should have been both parents at my wedding, but Mom had to attend alone.
Well, if you're happy, that's good.
Leaving your family for a young woman is just irresponsible. The only good thing is that I was an adult. Otherwise, Mom would have had to bear everything alone.
Yeah, Dad thought about it and waited until you were grown up. I was thinking properly.
Someone who's thinking properly wouldn't abandon their family. Don't say ridiculous things.
Well, I guess I do feel bad about it.
It's too late for that now. Look, I want to apologize, so give me your address.
Even if you apologize now, it won't change anything.
I never forgot about you, not even once.
Then please forget me. I've already forgotten about you.
That's heartless.
Didn't you make me this way?
So, that woman turned you against me?
Which woman?
Your mom. She must have poisoned you against me. That's why you're saying such things. You weren't like this before.
Emily thought about Henry's words and then asked, "Where are you living now?"
Huh? The apartment we used to live in.
You rented it?
No, I don't have the money to rent. I still had the key and the door was just as I left it, so I picked up some cardboard boxes and I'm staying here now. It's better than the cold outside.
So, you've been there since Mom moved out? And no one has moved in? Seems like it. Lucky, huh? Really? No one's living there? There's no sign of anyone's stuff, so it's pretty clear. What about it? That means it's property of the real estate company, right? Yeah, I guess. Aren't you worried about getting in trouble? They hardly ever come to check. You're not planning to leave? Guess I can't, huh? That's why I want to live with you. You understand, right? So, you'll be staying there for a while longer? Yeah, until you agree to live with me, I'll be here. I can't sleep outside, it's too cold. But it's cold here too. A blanket would help. Cardboard alone is pretty cold. You're really still there? Yeah, I have to be. But I want to stay at your place. Come on, let me stay, just give me the address. What, hanging up just like that? No manners at all. A few days later, a lawyer contacted us. Apparently, Henry was arrested for illegal trespassing. He had been sleeping on cardboard in the apartment we used to live in. There were cans of food and beer scattered around, and it smelled awful. Someone reported seeing lights in the supposedly vacant apartment and found Henry there. He was arrested on the spot, and now he's asking for a public defender and wants me and Emily to visit him. Following his request, Emily and I went to the police station. Seeing Henry for the first time in 3 years, he looked much thinner. Why did you let it come to this?
Well, the real estate company suddenly showed up.
You knew we weren't living in that apartment anymore. That means you knew you shouldn't have been there, right?
Yeah, but I had nowhere else to stay. It's too cold to sleep outside.
There are places like motels, you know.
That's a waste of money.
But you can afford beer. Alcohol is the best way to keep warm. You're going to freeze to death. It's not cold enough to freeze to death. So why did you call us? We're strangers now.
Don't say that. You're the only ones I can rely on.
When we were in trouble, you were unreachable. You're so selfish.
Well, if you had let me stay, this wouldn't have happened. I asked so many times.
Asked? You never politely asked to stay. You just demanded.
Why should I have to say that? I worked hard for you all. Why should I beg you?
Is that so? Well then, goodbye.
No, wait. Don't be so hasty, okay? Anyway, I wanted to stay with you. If we lived together, I could have thought of something.
Thought of what? Finding your next woman?
No, it's not like that. Well, there's no use arguing over what's done.
It might be over for you, but not for us. You showed up just as we were moving on. Thanks to you, our peace of mind is disturbed again.
That's the same for me. It's not just you who's disturbed.
Oh really? How exactly are you disturbed? Did we do that to you? Or is it just the consequences of your own actions?
Enough. I didn't call to argue.
I don't intend to argue. There's no point in fighting with a stranger like you. So, Dad, why did you call us here?
Well, the thing is, the real estate company said they're willing to settle.
Oh, good for you. But we don't need to hear such trivial news. Let's go, Mom.
No, wait. Why are you like this? Listen to me.
I'm busy. I'm going shopping for clothes with Mom. For my daughter's clothes. So, I don't have time to play with you.
Play. Look, I'll be straightforward. I need you to cover the settlement money for me.
What are you saying? Do you understand, Mom? I don't get it. Why would we listen to a request for money from a stranger like Henry? Yeah, I wouldn't lend it either. How can someone who doesn't work properly pay back the money?
Don't be like that. If I can just pay this settlement money, they'll drop the case.
How much is it?
$4,000.
Oh, and if you don't pay it?
It goes to court.
And what happens then?
Probably a prison sentence or a fine.
How much is the fine?
They said it could be less than $2,000.
Then that's cheaper, isn't it?
I don't even have that $2,000. The real estate company, considering my situation, said $2,000 would be enough.
Still, that's twice the fine.
Yeah, so can you lend me the $4,000?
I have a child, you know. I need money for my child. I can't just give away $4,000.
I see. Tina, what about you? You can afford it, right?
Are you joking? How do you think I've lived after you left me, without working properly? There's no way I have extra money.
Don't be like that. Borrow it from somewhere for me.
Why should I borrow money for you? If I borrow it, I'll be the one who has to pay it back, right? Impossible.
I'll pay it back once I'm out of here.
Then ask your young lover.
I told you, I broke up with her.
But she's still closer to you than I am. We're strangers now.
Don't say that. Help me out. Tina.
Deserves you right. Leaving the visiting room, Emily and I walked away as my ex-husband desperately called out. He was so arrogant and selfish, disregarding his family. Now, abandoned by his lover, he's beyond help. It made me wonder why the real estate company showed up just in time. Then Emily grinned and told me she had called them. A little revenge like this won't bring any punishment, right? It turns out, my daughter was the one who had contacted the real estate company. Henry later faced trial and, with an unenthusiastic public defender, got a 3-year prison sentence. He served his time without trouble and was released, only to face a bleak future at 58 with a criminal record, unable to find a job or afford an apartment, eventually becoming homeless. He contacted me multiple times, wanting to reconcile.
I'm out now. I've really changed. Let's start over. Marry me again.
Is there any love in that?
Love doesn't matter. We were married before, that's enough.
I'm not interested in a loveless marriage.
You're being ridiculous. Your husband's in trouble, and you should help.
That's when I decided to block him. He managed to get by with odd jobs, but couldn't keep it up, eventually becoming homeless. Meanwhile, I live happily with my daughter's family and my grandchild, far from his turmoil. I'm living every day full of smiles and happiness.
You definitely shouldn't watch a childbirth video like this. Look, there's a lot of blood, and you guys will faint. So you really shouldn't watch it.
Today is my daughter's first birthday. My in-laws and brother-in-law came to our house to celebrate. When I suggested watching the childbirth video, my husband Josh got unusually upset. His agitation made my father-in-law and brother-in-law concerned, and they spoke up.
If it's me, I'll be fine, Josh. I was there when you and your brother were born. I'll be fine too, Josh. It'll be a learning experience. It's okay if your wife Camila is fine with it, right?
At my brother-in-law's request, I nodded in agreement. However, Josh was adamantly against it.
No, absolutely not. I'm telling you this for your own good. Don't watch it.
Josh exclaimed and snatched the childbirth video from my hand, retreating to his room.
What's gotten into Josh? He seems a bit off, doesn't he, Camila?
Yes, what's going on? Oh, I left the childbirth video in the player. Should we watch it without Josh? The video Josh took was a different one. Anticipating his actions, I had left the real childbirth video in the player. I quietly pressed the play button. It was to show the relatives the childbirth video, and Josh, his own hell. My in-laws and brother-in-law leaned in with interest, engrossed in the video. It began with a pregnant woman lying in the delivery room, her belly swollen and large. The camera angle focused on the lower half of her body, not showing her face.
It hurts, Josh, rub my back. Just a little longer. Hang in there. It hurts,
continued the woman. The pain seemed intense, and we all tensed up watching.
It hurts. I can't take it anymore. It's okay. Don't push yet. Breathe deeply. Inhale, exhale. I can't. Let me push. Good. The head is coming. Just a bit more.
Josh, sobbing, continued filming with a close-up angle of the action. Despite being scolded by the staff to move aside, Josh kept filming. Finally, a loud cry signaled the baby's arrival.
It's born. You did well. She's a healthy girl,
said the staff, and the baby was first held against her mother's chest. The grueling scene of childbirth was replaced by a divine image of mother and child. Tears welled up in the eyes of my in-laws and brother-in-law.
You did well, Camila. Josh did a great job assisting with the birth.
Then the camera panned out to show the woman's face. It was a face of tiredness and satisfaction after the ordeal of childbirth. The problem was, the woman was not me, but someone else entirely. The faces of my in-laws and brother-in-law changed upon seeing the woman.
Who is this woman? I don't recognize her. She's definitely not Camila. Josh was mentioned in the video. That means he filmed this. Why is he filming a stranger's childbirth? That's strange. What's going on here?
Everyone seemed confused. Just then, the door opened with a click, and Josh, looking fearful, peeked in. Everyone's gaze turned to him, the man of the hour. Josh, receiving everyone's attention, initially seemed confused, but upon seeing the video, he was shocked.
Why are you watching that? I have the video here.
I know what you did. You took a decoy. The real one is here. We just finished watching it.
Josh! What is this? Why do you have this video? Who is this woman? Yeah, Josh. This isn't your wife Camila, right? Are you having an affair? And even with a baby? I don't know who she is. Maybe Camila got it mixed up. Right, Camila?
I just smiled and said nothing. Instead, my father-in-law spoke up.
This is strange. Why would Camila have a video of a stranger's childbirth? And why do we even have such a thing in our house? Could this be some kind of mistake? I don't know anything about this. Camila, what's with that smirk on your face? Do you know something? This isn't some kind of sick joke, is it?
It's not a joke. You know it best. Don't you think I was going to cover for you? There's no way I would. Let's tell everyone the truth. That's the childbirth video of your mistress, isn't it?
What? What do you mean? Josh, explain this.
Josh remained silent. So I began to speak. Since Josh can't explain, I will.
Stop it, Camila. Don't make things worse. Josh, be quiet. Let's hear what Camila has to say.
I took a deep breath. See what happens to a betrayer. The woman in the video is named Michelle. It seems Josh was involved with her, and as a result, she got pregnant. Josh's face went pale. My in-laws and brother-in-law were too shocked to respond. Not a single person said a word. No one could believe that what they thought was their granddaughter's birth video was actually that of a stranger. In the silence, I began to speak again. After giving birth, I noticed Josh's strange behavior. He suddenly started working late and going in on weekends. When he was home, he'd lock himself in his room and fiddle with his phone.
That's because it was work.
It wasn't just that. He even canceled our important anniversaries on the day itself. My birthday and our wedding anniversary were both canceled.
I apologized for that. It was work. That's right, urgent work came up.
I was foolish to believe those words. What kind of modern company has all-night overtime or out-of-town work, especially for an internal finance job like yours? What business trips? That's strange.
I told you it was work. We were short-staffed and had internal troubles. You're being persistent.
Josh lies so easily. I used to believe him. We were busy with our baby, and I loved him.
You should believe what I say. I'm not lying. And I was only busy for a few months back then, right? Now I'm helping with housework and childcare.
Yes, but that doesn't erase everything. Let's tell everyone what happened during those months. I have proof, look. I showed a screenshot from Josh's phone. It had conversations between Josh and Michelle. When can we meet again? We just met. You want to see me that badly? You're so cute. Josh, I love you. The flirty conversation ended with Michelle's message, "Thank you for the beautiful gift. I will take good care of our baby." I wouldn't normally snoop on someone's phone. I had a reason. When I was cleaning Josh's room, I found an unfamiliar childbirth video.
So what? You shouldn't be snooping through someone's phone, even if we're married.
Josh yelled defensively. Knowing him, I became even calmer. Josh always raises his voice when things don't go his way. Confirming the truth of what I said. The day I found the video was our wedding anniversary. I was excited for a rare outing, dressed in a new dress, and had booked a fancy restaurant. But Josh didn't come home. When he finally called, he said he couldn't make it because of work. I was so sad. But I tried to calm myself, thinking it was just work, and started cleaning his room. Then I found the video hidden in the bookshelf gap. I stared at Josh, who was turning blue. I thought it was a video I didn't recognize and picked it up. It said childbirth of a loved one. I was shocked. Even more so when I saw it was a video of a woman I didn't know giving birth, filmed by you, Josh. That's when I first suspected your affair and checked your phone. The password was our daughter's birthday. It was easy.
Josh, what is this? Explain.
My usually calm father-in-law's stern words seemed to hit Josh hard. Josh was flustered and sweating profusely.
No, it's not like that, Dad. That's Camila's harassment. I've been too busy with work to pay attention to her. I wouldn't cheat.
Just then, the doorbell rang, signaling a visitor. Perfect timing. Come in. I checked the camera and opened the door. A woman in her late 30s entered, wearing a white blouse with a deep neckline and a skirt above the knee. My mother-in-law was surprised by the sudden guest, but I had invited her.
Camila, maybe she should come back later. We're a bit busy.
No, she's part of this too.
What do you mean?
Yes, she was Josh's mistress, Michelle. In fact, I had consulted a lawyer about Josh's affair. I had the lawyer inform Michelle that I wanted a discussion. Michelle came alone, just as I had said. I'm Michelle. Hearing the name Michelle, my in-laws and brother-in-law gasped.
Michelle, so you're the one who had an affair with my brother?
Yes, I'm sorry for my thoughtless actions and causing everyone pain. Michelle apologized. She must have prepared herself for this moment. Michelle spoke clearly. I met Josh on a dating app. We hit it off over our shared love of action movies. He suggested we watch a movie together. I watched Michelle intently as she spoke. Though we had spoken on the phone, this was the first time we met. I knew she was in her late 30s, older than both Josh and me. Despite her young attire, her skin showed slight wrinkles. As I struggled with new motherhood, the thought of Josh having fun with her fueled my anger again. Michelle continued. After the movie, we met a few more times and became intimate. Soon after, I found out I was pregnant.
Is it really Josh's child? Do you have any proof?
Yes, Josh doubted it too, so we did a DNA test. It's 99% Josh's child. Michelle looked relieved as she spoke, unburdened by revealing everything. In contrast, Josh sat there, drained of energy. When I told Josh about the pregnancy, he asked me to terminate it. But I wanted to keep the baby. I'm turning 39 this year. I thought it might be my last chance to have a child. That's quite selfish. You knew Josh was married, right? Did you understand what it meant to have a married man's child? Yes, but I couldn't give up the chance to have my own child. So, you only thought about yourself. Josh is foolish, but so are you. Your selfish actions hurt many people. I'm sorry. But I wanted my own child. In the end, Josh agreed to my wish. He said he wouldn't acknowledge the child and didn't need to provide child support. Foolish, both of you. And what about the video? Why did Josh film your childbirth? I wanted to keep a memory of what I thought would be my only childbirth. When my water broke, I called Josh, and he came with a camera. So Josh kept the video hidden? No, the last time I saw Josh, I put the video in my bag. I wanted him to remember me and our child. I truly loved Josh. But after the birth, I haven't met him. I never intended to break his family. I'm now living happily with my child and won't bother him again. And you think that makes it okay? You can't just be forgiven. You labeled it childbirth of a loved one, didn't you? Yes. Michelle replied with a confident smile.
So that's what happened, Michelle. I finally understand. The last day I saw you, I found an unfamiliar video in your bag. I realized later it was the childbirth video and hid it. How could you do this? You've exposed everything. Take responsibility.
I'm sorry. But I couldn't forget about you.
I told you not to cause me any trouble. Because of your actions, my family is in chaos.
I'm sorry. Josh was furiously red-faced.
What nonsense is this?
My usually calm father-in-law's voice echoed loudly. I had never seen him so angry.
The cause of all this is you, Josh. Despite having a wife like Camila, you went after another woman and even fathered a child. Do you realize how much Camila has been hurt? Apologize to her first.
Our parenting must not have been good. I never thought you'd be this foolish, Camila's mother-in-law lamented.
That's right, big brother. Listening to this, it's just so selfish. I'm ashamed to be your brother, added Josh's brother.
Josh remained silent, but Michelle apologized again. Camila, and all the family, I'm very sorry. I won't cause any more trouble. I plan to raise the child alone.
Well, let's forgive her. She did all this because she wanted her child. She's not seeking recognition for the child or asking for child support. I only have one child, Camila. Don't look so scared. I'll make time for us from now on.
I was stunned by Josh's behavior, acting as if all problems were solved. Does he really think he'll be forgiven just like that? That's too naive. There's no way his betrayal of me and our child can be forgiven so easily. My in-laws seemed to agree.
Idiot. Are you trying to escape responsibility by blaming her? Apologize to Camila first. That's right. The most pitiable here are Camila and the child. Your sins for hurting your precious family are grave. It's unbelievable. You're worse than a worm.
I had no intention of forgiving my husband. Thinking he could escape the consequences of his affair and impregnating another woman was too audacious. Josh needed to face the gravity of his actions. So, let him see. I took out a document from an envelope on the table. This is a divorce paper. I've already signed my part, now you sign it.
Wait. Why divorce all of a sudden? It was just a little fun. Please forgive me.
Josh clung to her arm. But I continued calmly.
Just a little fun? Do you realize what you've done? While I was busy with our first child, you were out making another woman pregnant. You don't deserve to be a father, and I have no intention of building a home with a traitor. Your mere presence disgusts me. Let go of me. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Josh started begging. Too late. I've already consulted a lawyer. Since you cheated and had a child, you'll have to pay alimony. The going rate is $60,000. Michelle, you too. You've ruined my family. And child support until our child finishes college. Now get out of my sight.
What do you mean child support? You're the one who wanted a divorce. I don't have to pay anything.
You're not only the worst person but also an idiot. As a parent, you have a responsibility to pay. If you're not convinced, talk to the lawyer.
That's right. You must take responsibility for your actions, Josh. We're cutting ties with you. We don't want to be involved anymore. We just want a peaceful retirement. I agree, Josh. You're the worst. Consider our brotherly ties severed. Don't contact me ever again. That's it then. There's no place for you in this house anymore. Leave.
Not a single person in Josh's family took his side. Josh looked at me with pleading eyes, but I glared back. My father-in-law grabbed Josh and shoved him towards the front door. Josh finally left the house, followed by Michelle. I threw the forgotten divorce papers at their backs. Later, I officially divorced Josh. Through a lawyer, I discussed and claimed alimony and child support. Josh reluctantly agreed to pay the alimony in installments and child support until college graduation. Despite the divorce being finalized, Josh repeatedly came to apologize and pleaded for reconciliation. But I never forgave him. Considering my daughter, forgiveness was impossible. Meanwhile, Michelle seemed unable to let go of Josh. After the divorce, she became clingy, showing up at his workplace and waiting outside his apartment. Josh had no affection for Michelle and no intention of being with her. Overwhelmed, Josh became a wreck, unable to leave his home. But it was none of my concern. After all, he reaped what he sowed. He will have to deal with it himself. I moved back to my parents' house with my daughter. Since my sister had just married and left home, my lonely parents warmly welcomed us. Surrounded by loving grandparents. My daughter is growing up well. Her unsteady steps and the beginnings of speech, calling out grandma and grandpa, had completely charmed my parents. I found happiness in these simple everyday moments. Though my marriage was a failure, my relationship with Josh's parents and his brother continued. They genuinely cared for me and my daughter, offering support whenever needed. Despite the painful and regretful experience of my marriage, I found warmth in my family. Now, as a single mother, I had no worries about raising my daughter. After all, I had a loving family supporting us. My name is Nancy, I'm 26 years old. My husband, Sam, and I met in high school and got married when we were 20. Getting married young, we faced a lot of criticism from those around us. But I've come to realize that there's truth in the wisdom of those with more life experience. Sam doesn't have a steady job, and financially, we're barely scraping by, unable to even consider having kids. I help out at my family's dry cleaning business, but my part-time pay is pretty tight. Struggling to make ends meet as it is, I discovered that Sam has managed to have an affair. I had known about it for a while, but his mistress, Jennifer, is quite a piece of work. Today was Sam's birthday. I had planned to order some food and cake, but Sam said he had things to do and left. So I called my best friend, Sally. Sally suggested going to a new, trendy cafe. I'm not much for trends or fashion, so the private room at Sally's chosen cafe felt like a novelty to me. As Sally and I were catching up, people were shown to the next room. I froze when I recognized the voices. It was Sam and Jennifer. Listening in, I heard Jennifer sobbing and Sam scolding her. Their conversation revealed a situation more serious than just an affair. Without a second thought, I called 911. As a result, Jennifer was arrested. I want to start from the beginning of my story with Sam to explain how things escalated to this point.
So, Nancy, what are you planning for your future?
It was fall in our senior year of high school, and Sally and I were discussing our future.
You're not planning to get a full-time job?
Well, my family runs a dry cleaning business, and my parents want me to help out there. It's a hassle, but I guess that's fine with me.
What about Sam?
Sam wants to get married. So we're planning to move in together after graduation. Sam doesn't really want to work for a company either. He wants to be a freelancer and live freely.
Really, you and Sam seem to be taking life as it comes. Being a full-time employee has its perks, like better pay and benefits. You two really think alike.
Maybe after being together for 3 years, we've started to think alike.
It's amazing. You two have been together since Sam asked you out on a whim at our orientation. I can't imagine being with the same guy for 3 years.
You change boyfriends too often, Sally. Breaking up after a week is just weird. Sam and I, neither of us having full-time jobs, started our life together. He began working part-time at a bar, and I helped out at home. Then, at 20, Sam and I got married. He proposed to me in front of our classmates at a party. Of course, I accepted.
I can't believe your parents agreed to your marriage. Sam's practically an unemployed, changing jobs frequently and quitting at the slightest criticism. He even uses a job-quitting service to avoid facing his employers. How do you manage your finances?
We're getting by on my part-time earnings. But we can't think about having kids yet. Sam's not serious about his work, and it would be unfair to bring a child into this situation.
Don't you think you rushed into marriage? Our high school teacher said so too. It's better to gain more life experience first. Your parents were totally against it too. They said it was too soon and you should plan more for the future. Parents know these things. Marriage is about life, not just love. Once the honeymoon phase ends, reality hits hard.
Despite Sally's advice, Sam and I reached our 6th year of marriage.
Wow, I can't believe you two are still going strong.
You always say that, Sally.
Because I'm amazed Sam hasn't grown up at all. Are you planning to take care of him forever? He's practically a moocher.
Well, he started a new job, but it's a bit iffy.
What's up?
Though Sally worries about us, she seems to be waiting for something to go wrong.
It's this multi-level marketing business. He got roped into it at a seminar and paid $6,000 for registration. I asked him where he got the money, and he said he'd borrowed it from his mom.
He's convinced he'll double it and pay her back.
That sounds sketchy. Is he brainwashed?
He says it's a steal to start his own business for only $6,000. He's been reaching out to all his friends to join. He's even become distanced from his high school buddies because of it, but he's determined to prove them wrong and get rich. Now that you mention it, I might have heard a rumor about it. That Sam's gone off the rails. So this was what everyone was talking about. He just wants to make easy money, that's all. Sally looked excited. And on top of the $6,000, there's a monthly fee of $340. It's all losses, but he's completely deluded. You're talking about it like it's someone else's problem, but isn't this a serious issue for you? There's something even more serious. What now? What did Sam do this time? Infidelity. This isn't the first time for Sam, is it? That was back in high school. This is the first time since we'd been married. It's not just an affair, it feels like he's got a mistress. A full-fledged mistress? With his financial situation, can he even afford to keep a woman? Sally asked, barely holding back her laughter. It seems like Sally enjoys my misfortune, but she's the only one I can really talk to. I decided to tell her everything Sam had confessed to me. It all started with Sam asking me, "Hey, can you lend me $400?
What do you need it for? You've been going out a lot at night lately. If you want to have fun, use your own money. I'm sacrificing my wants and needs, too."
Okay, then can I have $200?
What about that shady job you took? Just like I said, you got scammed. They just took your money.
It was a learning experience. So, be honest, where are you going? Depending on that, I might lend you the money. Sam hesitated a bit, then tried to dodge the question by saying, I need it to go to a cafe. I quickly realized he wasn't talking about just any cafe but a bar. Is there a girl you like there? Well, if you tell me everything honestly, I'll give you the $200. Sam took the bait and told me all about Jennifer, the girl from a nightclub. He's so simple, that's why he falls for things like multi-level marketing schemes.
I was invited by a coworker to the nightclub for the first time.
His coworker was someone from the multi-level marketing scheme.
It just happened that Jennifer was the one who served me. She had just come from the countryside, not quite polished. But I was drawn to her unworldliness. She clung to me like a little sister, making me want to protect her.
So, you've been spending all night to see Jennifer? Where's the money coming from? My mom gave it to me. She had been saving it for when I grew up. She wanted to use it for my wedding, but there wasn't much. She said she'd cash it out and give it all to me if I wanted. It wasn't a huge amount, but still. His mother had been saving up for his future, and he had the audacity to complain about it. I was astounded. So I've been visiting Jennifer with that money, and now it's running out. Are you meeting up in private as well?
I'm seeing her privately too. It's hard covering the costs of our dates.
Sam talked about his mistress as if it was the most natural thing. He wasn't just oblivious, he was insensitive. So you're spending money at the shop and in private? And you're happy about it? You find joy in spoiling her?
Jennifer relies on me. She can't do anything alone. She says I'm the only one she can depend on, he said.
I couldn't believe he fell for such a classic line. So now that you've used up the money your mother gave you, you're turning to your wife for more. How can you be so shameless? It's like you're throwing away your dignity for Jennifer.
So, Nancy, can you give me $100?
He asked with an innocent smile. Despite my disbelief, I decided to give him the money, hoping to learn more about Jennifer. And just like that, a wife-approved mistress was born. From that day, Jennifer started posting about Sam on social media. It was like she was flaunting it or even taunting me. Even someone as clueless as Sam was a catch for her. Could it be that Jennifer had actually fallen for him? I'm doing something wrong. But I'm ready to die when I lose him. He's my everything, listens to everything I say. I hope I'll always be his place to return to, she wrote in her cringeworthy, flowery posts. It was clear she was talking about Sam. I can't talk much about vocabulary, but hers was definitely lacking. At that time, I thought it was just a fling and Sam would be dumped and come crawling back. After all, he had no money. Jennifer was probably with him only because he was providing for her, and his time was up.
What? Sam hasn't come back? Since when?
I was getting a bit worried, so I invited Sally over. She works as a regular office worker and stopped by after work. It's been about 10 days.
Wow, why didn't you say something sooner? This is a big deal. Have you contacted Sam's parents?
No, I haven't. I know where Sam is.
You mean at Jennifer's place, the mistress you casually mentioned?
Probably. He's not responding to emails or calls. I don't get it. He's such a non-profitable guy, and what's even her motive?
I know it sounds crazy, but maybe Jennifer has genuinely fallen for Sam?
To be honest, I hadn't ruled out that possibility myself. But something didn't sit right with me. That girl, Jennifer, I looked her up on social media. I wanted to know what kind of person she is. Sam told me she was like a little sister he wanted to protect, but her true nature is something else entirely. She works at a nightclub, right? Given it's a nighttime business, I bet there's a lot of shady stuff going on. Exactly. Jennifer has connections with the mob. She works at a rip-off bar in the background, while the nightclub is just a front. So much for being a little sister in need of protection. It's all written on anonymous message boards. The credibility might be questionable, but there's no smoke without fire, right? That's way too dangerous. Sam's totally being fooled. You know, Sally, Sam got involved in that multi-level marketing scheme. He's not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed, right? And he's practically broke. It's not confirmed, but it seems like Jennifer's getting him some sort of job.
Oh, that's awful. What kind of job?
He's working at a bar, something like a sister establishment to the club, doing a job as a black suit or something.
I'm not too familiar with night jobs, but I guess he's doing support work at a place where girls are the main attraction.
Right, like carrying drinks and changing ashtrays. I didn't want to believe it. Sam is completely under Jennifer's control, being exploited for money, and he doesn't even realize it. It's more than just love being blind. Hey, let's go check out the bar where Sam is working.
Now? Who else but you, Nancy, can make him see reason?
I was taken aback by Sally's sudden suggestion, but Sam wasn't coming back despite my attempts to contact him. We had no choice but to confront him head-on. Wow, you figured it out, huh? That I'm working here. Sally and I waited outside the bar where Sam was working until he finished. It was more like an ambush. Sam was surprised to see us, but didn't seem too rattled. Weren't you surprised, Nancy? That I'm doing a night job? I kept silent. The thing is, I'm a night owl, right? So it seems like I'm really suited for this job. I even got an advance on my salary, and the amount is no joke. People say you can make good money in the nightlife industry, and it's true. All the money he earns goes straight to Jennifer. And Jennifer's money flows to the mob. Sam is blissfully unaware, thinking he's doing great. Working at night or not, having a job is commendable. But why don't you come home? Are you staying at that girl's place from the club? Why don't you contact Nancy? Are you planning a divorce? Sally bombarded him with questions, and Sam was taken aback. Well, you see, my phone was taken. And now I'm using a different one just for them. He's being monitored and controlled that much. He's mistaking it for love. So, you're not coming home anymore? If that's the case, we need to talk about divorce, right? Nancy might not understand, but Jennifer is sick. She's fighting an illness while still smiling every day at the club. Isn't that admirable? Do you know what her illness is? I heard it's a typical case of adjustment disorder. That's why she gets sick easily. I couldn't leave her alone. She does extreme things when she's by herself, and I worry about her. That's just being overly dependent. If you stay with her, you'll never be free. You should think twice before making promises you can't keep. But Jennifer says she can't live without me. I've never heard something like that before. I've only been with Nancy,
so I don't know how to handle relationships with other women.
So he's completely under Jennifer's thumb, being used and manipulated. I wanted to tell him to wake up and see the reality, but I knew he would just brush it off. He's too caught up in Jennifer to see anything else.
I've sworn to do anything for Jennifer. We even made a contract about it. A contract?
This story was getting weirder by the minute.
Yeah, stuff like taking care of Jennifer's mental health, doing anything for her, following her every word. That kind of thing. I don't know how legally binding that is, but does that mean you're planning to marry her?
I don't know about that.
Jennifer's still young. So, you're not breaking up with either Nancy or Jennifer.
That's pretty convenient for you.
If only the US allowed polygamy, everything would be solved, right?
This guy. He's so laid back about it. I'm at a loss for words, but then again, I'm no better for not being able to speak up more firmly. Whatever I say now won't get through to him. Sally and I decided to leave it at that for the time being. We didn't want to risk escalating things with someone who might use his life as a bargaining chip. But the next day, Sam came home. Did that make me a bit happy? Maybe I'm just too easy. For a few days, Sam stayed home and didn't go out at night.
So, I thought maybe Jennifer had dumped you.
I told Sally over the phone. I've been leaning on her a lot for this situation.
Today's Sam's birthday. So I got some food and even bought a cake. But he suddenly said he had to go out and left. Don't you think that's the worst? Why don't we go out for a change of scenery then? There's this chic cafe I've been wanting to try. If you're up for it, Nancy.
I'm in. I'm not exactly in a position to be fashionable, you know? Our family's dry cleaning business isn't exactly a place to dress up for. And honestly, I can't afford new clothes. I've always envied how you're always dressed in nice office casual, Sally.
All right, let's go later.
The cafe Sally recommended had a great ambience, and the rooms were very modern. But the walls were thin.
You can hear the conversation in the next room if you're not careful. Yeah, but I hear the food is great.
We noticed new customers entering the next room. Our conversation paused for a moment, and I heard the voices from the next room clearly. It was Sam's voice. After 10 years together, I couldn't mistake it. And the woman was definitely Jennifer. Her sweet voice, slow and deliberate. Disliked by women but adored by men.
It's Sam and Jennifer's voices! No way, what are the odds?
Sally seemed amused at the unfolding drama.
Something's off.
Sally and I listened intently.
How did you buy this? Why are you so harsh? It's the watch you always wanted, right? I thought you'd be happy, but if you're going to be like this, I'll just leave. That watch costs $20,000. It's not something you can just buy on a whim.
I work at night. I have that kind of money.
That's impossible. You always spend everything you have, Jennifer. I've told you to think about saving for emergencies. I don't need to hear that from you, Sam. You hardly earn anything. But still, I want to know where you got $20,000 from. You didn't borrow it just to buy this for me, did you? No way. I earned it myself. Just accept it without overthinking.
But Sam didn't let it go. He seemed certain that Jennifer couldn't have that kind of money.
Don't be mad, just tell me the truth. I'm really happy you got me this expensive watch. But if you had to struggle to get the money, I can't accept it. If it's from your hard-earned cash, I feel guilty.
Jennifer was taken aback by Sam's persistence.
I earned it from a side job. A side job? What kind of job?
Jennifer fell silent and suddenly started crying.
Jennifer? Why are you crying? Won't you tell me about the side job?
A friend introduced me to the job.
The older male friend you always talk about?
Jennifer seemed to nod. Sam took a deep breath and began.
That friend of yours, he's not just a friend, right? He's connected to the mob, isn't he? You thought I wouldn't notice? He was the one who got me that job, right? Well, given my track record, it didn't last long. Jennifer, you've been working at other bars too, apart from the club, under his orders, right? Why do you have to obey everything he says? It seems like he's got something on you. I want you to trust me and tell me everything. I've always said I'm on your side, Jennifer.
Jennifer, as if deciding to be brave, stopped her tears a little and confessed something shocking.
The person you're talking about is probably Simon. I racked up debt, and Simon paid it all off for me. That's why I couldn't defy him. I hated it, but he told me to take part in a scam. What Simon says is absolute, and I had to do it.
Here, Jennifer's crying grew louder.
So, did you buy this watch with the money you earned from the scam?
For the first time, I heard Sam with such a scary voice. I never knew he had this manly side.
I'm not happy at all receiving a gift bought with that kind of money. Jennifer, you're still young, but don't you realize you're deeply involved with the underworld, doing bad things?
Jennifer gradually started sobbing and then burst into tears. Sam's scolding was justified. Listening through the wall, I started to see Sam in a new light. He hadn't been completely corrupted yet. There was still a chance for him to turn back. That's what I thought, but then I felt betrayed.
But if it hasn't been found out, maybe I should just keep it.
Jennifer suddenly stopped crying and said casually, if I cash it in, it might be worth around $16,000.
Sam, aren't you mad?
It seemed like she was still hiding something.
I took all the collection money from the scam office. Probably around $200,000. That's going to be a big problem if it's found out, isn't it? It's trouble either way. Let's run away together to hide your identity, Jennifer. Let's head to the land of freedom.
Sam and Jennifer started getting excited about the idea. Without hesitation, I called 911. And then stormed into the next room.
Nancy? What are you doing here?
Sam was clearly taken aback.
Wow, the real wife. You look nothing like your photos. Completely different. I heard your whole conversation just now. The police will be here any minute. I thought I should say this now, in case Jennifer gets arrested and can't say it later. Regarding the defamation on social media so far, I plan to fight back with a lawyer. Don't think I'll just let it slide because I haven't retaliated. My family's business has gone through unnecessary troubles because of baseless posts. You, living your life all about money, ultimately saw Sam just as a source of money, didn't you? You got involved with the mob because of your debts, as you said earlier. It's all about money. Money can truly mess up a person's life. Jennifer, you'll always be tied down by money, never free.
Jennifer glared back at me sharply. There was so much I wanted to say to Sam, who just stood there as if it was none of his business. But even though he's a fool and naturally oblivious, the 10 years with him have been genuinely happy for me.
What, giving a lecture now? You think your words will change my heart? Using cliched phrases to act all high and mighty? Sam got hooked on the nightclub because he didn't want to be with you, right? He always said he didn't want to stay home. You two live in a small one-bedroom in an old apartment, right? Must be suffocating. Plus, you are always nagging him to work. I just gave Sam a place to be. He followed me willingly. Don't make it sound like I lured and deceived him. You created that environment.
Jennifer's courage to say so much from the mistress's standpoint was impressive. She must have been through a lot despite being in her 20s.
Sam, you look like you're watching a show. You're the cause of all this. I feel bad for both Nancy and Jennifer. But wait, am I going to get arrested too?
Sam suddenly turned timid, visibly shaking.
Of course, you are. You were planning to run away with money from a scam. That's a serious crime. Do you have any proof of that? Of course, I recorded it all on my phone.
Sally replied, always one step ahead. Working in society really sharpens your mind. I realized how naive and ignorant I had been. If I had been smarter, maybe Sam wouldn't have fallen this far.
So, what's going to happen to me? Can I come back to Nancy's place if I'm released by the police?
What? Are you kidding me? We're getting divorced, Sam. That's the only option. Just then, the police arrived. Sally and I, along with the other customers, watched as Sam and Jennifer were taken away. Sam got off with a warning. But Jennifer was detained, though she was bailed out soon after. Sam and I got divorced.
Did the divorce go smoothly?
Sally, always caring, called me every night. Well, yeah. Sam wasn't in a position to argue. His parents agreed to pay me something like alimony. I've known them since high school, but I've never seen them so downcast.
Your parents probably think it's bad too. Their son is now living with cheating partner, isn't he?
Yeah, in a one-bedroom just like mine, which they always ridiculed.
So, is Sam working now? I can't imagine a slacker keeping a job.
He got a job in the nightlife, introduced by that guy, Simon. Apparently, Sam has to repay the money Jennifer embezzled from the scam every month. The collection is strict, so I guess Sam will stick with the job this time. It's simply scary, right?
So, you finally broke up with Sam. It's a miracle you lasted this long.
You always wondered why Sam and I were together, right? Probably because we're on the same intellectual level. We could empathize and share easily. It was comfortable. But I've decided something from this experience. I'm going to college.
College? Now?
I didn't study much in high school, just scraping by. But seeing you, Sally, with your degree, I realize education is necessary. I need to enter society and work in an organization. It might sound naive, but I'm thinking of distance learning. Even if I take over the family's dry cleaning business, studying will be helpful, and it won't betray me.
That's great, Nancy. After 10 years with Sam and all this, I thought you'd be mentally wrecked.
I'm going to stay positive from now on. I enrolled in a distance learning college. The textbooks are confusing, but it's fun when I understand the answers. Students in top universities probably use this fun to absorb knowledge. With many mental drawers, they can excel in various situations. I hope to learn about business management, thinking it will help revive our family's dry cleaning business.
Nancy? I'm far away right now, but if Jennifer contacts you, don't tell her anything about me.
Out of the blue, Sam called me. I hadn't blocked him yet. What are you talking about?
Jennifer's mental instability is extreme. She's always threatening her life, and I couldn't handle it anymore, so I ran away.
So what?
She became a stalker. I was almost killed.
I couldn't care less what happens to you, Sam. I firmly blocked Sam's number. What? You're quitting your job? Yeah, I've got to work at my father-in-law's company. I've already discussed it with my current employer and am preparing to resign. So, he told you to come work at his company? No, I'm planning to ask my father about it later. Oh? You've talked about marriage but not about work? I've already asked a lot from him regarding the marriage. I'm just waiting a bit before making another request. I'm happy I won't have to work at the same place as you anymore, but are you sure you want to quit a job you've had for so long? Of course. I'm going to be welcomed with open arms and great conditions. Who wants to work forever for a measly salary? But you haven't even discussed this with the boss yet, right? That's easy. If I ask, it'll be done in no time. Next in line to be the boss, huh? That's a big jump. 2 days after our divorce, I ran into my ex-husband. It seems he remarried within these 2 days. And the new wife? A 19-year-old heiress. He's all set on taking over her family's company. I'm marrying a 19-year-old heiress. Goodbye to the life of a penniless. Then, bye. They seemed satisfied, gloating about their happiness as they waved goodbye with smiles. Seeing my naive ex-husband and his young, inexperienced heiress, I started feeling amused. He's not cut out to be a boss. Because what that girl is saying is, my name is Emily. I'm 30 years old and work in corporate insurance sales. Honestly, my sales are pretty average, and my salary isn't all that high. But I don't hate my job. Since I pitch to companies, I often deal with HR personnel, but sometimes I meet with big shots like CEOs and directors. These people, unlike someone like me who's just a small part of the company, have all sorts of ideas. Just talking to them can be a learning experience, and they often make me see things in a new light. However, some of them can be quite eccentric, leaving me at a loss for how to react. Look at this. This is my daughter, she's in high school. She's adorable. This was taken on a trip, and this one's her relaxing at home. Whenever I go to talk about insurance, there's this CEO who spends at least 30 minutes showing off pictures of his daughter on his phone. Every time, I struggle to respond. I wonder if his daughter knows her photos are being shown to strangers. Being a teenager, she might not like it. But I guess it's not my place to comment on someone else's family or parenting.
Right, she's very cute. Can we get back to our discussion now?
So, I try to find the right moment to steer the conversation back on track as quickly as possible. Certainly, my husband, who prioritizes efficiency in his work, wouldn't bother with timing like I do. He'd swiftly change the topic. My husband, Michael, works at the same company as me, and even in the same department. Michael and I got married 2 years ago. We met at work, of course. He was 2 years my senior, and initially, we were just colleagues.
Just propose this plan for now. But both plans have their merits, don't they? If they complain about the first plan, then offer the other as an alternative. What if they decide on the first plan and later have issues because we didn't introduce the other? When that happens, we'll just deal with it. Worrying about potential problems that might not even occur is just inefficient.
When I first joined, I thought Michael was somewhat careless in his work. But working together showed me that wasn't the case. He's all about quick decisions and actions. It's not because he's sloppy, but because he bases his actions on solid knowledge and experience. He rarely makes mistakes. And on the off chance he does, he has the skill to manage the fallout. Over time, I came to admire his efficiency and how he handles a lot of work with ease. Our romance didn't have a dramatic beginning. We just naturally started dating after spending a lot of time together at work, having lunch and dinner together. Workplace romances are often like this. Maybe it's about becoming comfortable with each other's presence. Even after marriage, I still respect him as a colleague. His decisiveness is something I can't quite emulate, being somewhat indecisive myself. But that same quality of his led to an unexpected situation. We continued working at the same place after marriage. There hadn't been any major changes in our lives until 2 years into our marriage.
I'm pregnant. 3 months along. Really? That's great.
Hearing my news, Michael raised his arms in joy, almost hitting the ceiling. 2 years into our marriage. We had been worried about not being able to have a child, so it's no wonder Michael was overjoyed like a kid himself. If I didn't have to be careful, I'd be jumping for joy too.
I'll handle the cooking and cleaning. Just sit back and relax on the weekends. But my belly isn't even that big yet, and I feel fine today. I can move around, you know? That's exactly the kind of carelessness I'm talking about. What if you get tired from cooking or slip while cleaning? All right. I guess I'll take it easy then.
I couldn't help but laugh at the serious look on his face. He's always helped around the house, but since finding out I'm pregnant, he's been even more proactive. It's sweet that he's so concerned about my well-being, but with him doing so much, I find myself with more free time than I know what to do with at home. It's a luxury problem, I suppose. 3 months after he started treating me like a princess, I began handing over my work responsibilities as I prepared to take time off for childbirth and childcare. Since we work at the same place, Michael would be taking over some of my tasks.
This company is due for a renewal soon, and that one is worried about liability risk, so suggest this plan to them.
Yeah. You don't need to explain in detail.
Just give me the company info and the insurance status, and I'll handle the rest. Just hand over that list.
Michael took the documents I had prepared for the handover and, without listening to the end of my explanation, returned to his desk. Normally, I'd want someone to listen to my full explanation, but I knew he'd be fine. Besides, if he runs into anything he doesn't understand, we can always talk about it at work or at home. So, without worrying about him, I gratefully used the extra time for other tasks. Just as I thought, he smoothly took over the work without any issues. He was so efficient that the work left my hands earlier than expected. True to his nature, he's quick to decide and act. He's always fast in both judgment and action. As the rest of my tasks were gradually handed over, I was ready to go on leave with peace of mind. But just before I was about to start my break, a new worry suddenly emerged.
Going out again this week?
Yeah, just some social commitments.
What about dinner?
Don't need it. I'll be home late, so go to bed without waiting for me. As I rubbed my growing belly, I watched Michael leave the house for his weekend outings. When the front door closed with a thud, I felt a sense of emptiness and slowly made my way to the living room sofa. Sitting down, I started planning the rest of my day. Cleaning, shopping and cooking. Lately, Michael would leave home early on weekends and not return until late at night. He also stopped helping around the house. One's husband started coming home late and his attitude changed abruptly. This is a classic sign of infidelity. But Michael had been so kind until recently, and I was nearing my due date. So, even though the thought of infidelity crossed my mind, it quickly faded. I figured it must be work-related. Michael had taken on a lot of my workload so I could take maternity leave. He's efficient, so he ended up with more work than others. Plus, he already had a lot on his plate. Even for someone like him, a sudden increase in workload could understandably lead to exhaustion and irritation. Thinking the change in Michael was because of me, I became overly conscious of his reactions. At work, I'd glance at him, trying to gauge his mood. At home, worried I might irritate him, I spoke less. When I absolutely had to talk to him, I carefully picked the right moment and watched his expressions. With his attitude change and my cautious approach, it was inevitable that our relationship became strained. I began to feel a distance between us. However, that gap was filled by our child. Wow, she's adorable today too. You say the same thing every time. You're with her 24/7, but I'm not. Let me enjoy this. Okay. After a while, I took maternity leave and gave birth. Now, I'm at my parents' house with our daughter. Since it's close to our home, Michael visits every weekend. He arrives in the morning and stays glued to our daughter until the evening. He's so fixated that I half-jokingly wonder if time has stopped for him. Seeing his face, I feel reassured, despite being a bit exasperated. Here, the juice and snacks you asked me to buy. Let me know if you need anything else. Thanks, this is a big help. If I ask my mom, she never buys the right things. I received a store bag from Michael with a smile. With the birth of our daughter, Michael returned to being the kind, caring husband he was before. Seeing her face probably blew away all his work stress. I hoped we would return to being a close couple, now with our daughter making our lives happier than before. But 6 months after our daughter's birth, his attitude began to change again.
Keep it down. Make her stop crying. Don't be ridiculous.
I took our crying daughter from the bedroom to calm her. Her night crying was a challenge for me too. But it's something unavoidable. In the living room, I soothed her until she stopped crying. Michael's attitude had changed again, and he wasn't helping with childcare or housework. So, calming our daughter at night became my sole responsibility. Of course, taking care of a child isn't just about dealing with night crying. I needed his help. But he seemed to have no intention of helping with childcare or housework. Sorry. I just can't handle everything alone. Can you help me? Huh? Aren't you off work right now? You've got plenty of time. How can you not manage? It's just your efficiency that's bad. Hearing Michael's words, I tried hard not to grip our daughter too tightly in my arms. Michael is always efficient, quickly and neatly doing everything. But his habit of making quick decisions and actions means he also makes mistakes sometimes. Does he think childcare is like work, where if there's a mistake, you just fix it? What if something happens to our daughter? My ears hurt from our daughter's crying, and my headache from Michael's incomprehensible behavior. At this rate, he might make a serious mistake in caring for our child. It was late at night, but I decided to talk to him about it, returning to the bedroom with our now quiet daughter. When I got there, Michael was already asleep. I debated whether to wake him up to talk, but knowing that he would be grumpy and unlikely to listen properly if I did, I decided against it. I was exhausted too. So I chose to wait until the next morning to address it and went to sleep. However, I soon regretted not taking immediate action. The next morning, I woke up to our daughter's crying, but her voice sounded unusually faint and distant. I thought Michael might be soothing her, but he was asleep next to me. Apprehensively, I looked towards the crib where she should have been sleeping. She wasn't there. Instantly wide awake, I jumped out of bed and hurried to the living room, following the sound of her cries. There, I found my daughter alone on a mattress. In a panic, I picked her up to check for any injuries. As I frantically checked our daughter, Michael appeared, scratching his head lazily. "Don't leave the bedroom door open." The crying was so loud, it woke me up. His words made me understand the whole ridiculous situation. Michael, annoyed by our daughter's night crying and unable to sleep, had moved her to the living room to sleep alone after I fell asleep. What was he thinking, doing something so dangerous? Did he think he could just fix anything that happened? In my fury, I forgot I was holding our daughter and yelled at him.
Why would you do this? What if something had happened to her?
Don't start yelling this early. It's fine. I organized the bed so she couldn't fall, and I put blankets around her. It was only for about 4 hours, nothing was going to happen.
It's too late if something happens.
Enough. You're too noisy this early in the morning. Michael, clearly finding it bothersome to talk, headed to the bathroom, scratching his head. He seemed to treat childcare like his work. He thinks it's okay to leave our daughter alone because he reduced the risk of an accident. Does he really want to prioritize his sleep over our daughter's safety? I can't understand his way of thinking at all. I didn't bother with breakfast and just sat in the living room, waiting for Michael to return from the bathroom. I heard his footsteps approaching and, as he entered the living room, our eyes met. He looked clearly annoyed and started getting ready for work without a word. He left the house an hour earlier than usual. I let out a heavy sigh, realizing I could trust him with work but not with being a father to our daughter. That evening, Michael returned home earlier than usual. Hearing his arrival at the entrance, I checked the clock. It was just past 6 p.m. I thought that Michael coming home early meant he wanted to talk about our daughter. If we could discuss our married life and how to care for our daughter, maybe we could improve the situation. But as he entered the living room, he thrust divorce papers in front of me and uttered unbelievable words. "You're not needed anymore. Let's get a divorce." Michael seemed determined to make quick decisions and actions, even about divorce. Faced with such unexpected and nonsensical words, I thought anyone would be left dumbfounded. However, I was already filled with anger towards Michael due to his recent behavior and, above all, his treatment of our daughter this morning. His unreasonable demand was the last straw. Upon hearing his words, my anger reached its peak in a fraction of a second.
If it's a divorce you want, I'll be the one to ask for it.
I snatched the divorce papers he was holding and, grabbing only my wallet and keys, I left the house with our daughter. Our divorce was finalized smoothly. Both of us were willing, but a significant reason was that Michael readily agreed to generous child support. After leaving the house and getting divorced, I started living at my parents' house with my daughter. I have a job, and my parents are helping with childcare, so I'm not worried about the future. The divorce was less shocking than expected, mainly because Michael's behavior had been the cause, and what he did to our daughter was appalling. However, the thought of working with my ex-husband again after my maternity leave ends does dampen my spirits. But I still have about half a year before returning to work, so I hope my feelings will change by then. 2 days after the divorce was finalized, I left my daughter with my mother and decided to wander around town for a change of scenery. Just as I was about to enter a shopping mall without any particular purpose, I ran into the last person I wanted to see. I was caught off guard and didn't notice his approach because of the automatic doors. I tried to pass by, hoping he hadn't noticed me. "Hey, isn't that Emily?" I wished he would just keep walking, even if he noticed me. But my ex-husband, Michael, deliberately stopped me as I tried to pass by. Pretending not to notice, I kept walking deeper into the shopping mall, but he went as far as to grab my shoulder to stop me. "Hey! Don't ignore me." "Oh, it's you." Given his persistence, I felt it would be wrong to keep ignoring him, so I reluctantly decided to talk to him. When I turned to face him, I noticed a young woman standing beside him. I couldn't help but stare at her in disbelief.
"You're curious about her, right?"
I knew you would be. It seemed Michael stopped me to explain about this woman. He was already grinning. "She's my new wife. We're already married." "What?" I was shocked, more so than when he demanded a divorce. It felt like being hit on the head with a blunt object. Not only was he remarried just 2 days after our divorce, but his new wife was much younger. At 33, Michael seemed way too old for her.
"You look so surprised."
Michael, satisfied with my reaction, laughed loudly, not caring about the surroundings. The woman gently tugged at his sleeve.
"Yeah, this is Emily, my former wife."
"Nice to meet you, I'm Sophia, Michael's new wife." "Nice to meet you." Hearing her name, I looked at her again with disbelief. Michael's grin widened.
"You must be thinking you've seen her face before, right? You should have seen her before. Maybe not met, but seen. Seen her face but not met."
I suddenly realized why she looked familiar.
"She's the daughter of the president of the company I used to handle."
Exactly.
You remembered it well.
Now that I knew who she was, my mind cleared. But knowing her identity as the president's daughter brought a new wave of unease.
"You married in these 2 days? You met her after you took over my job, right?"
Yeah.
That president, just like you said, he really bragged about Sophia. The photos the president showed me of you were from when you were in high school. So, you're in college now?"
Yes.
"I'm 19 now, in college. I've been doing data entry part-time at my dad's company since I started college. I've never spoken to you, but I've seen you from a distance, Emily."
He really found himself a young wife to remarry. Legally okay, but morally questionable to some. I stared at Michael with a cold look.
"It was pure chance that I found Sophia. She was working quietly in the corner, so I didn't notice her at first."
"That's right.
I had to work alone in the corner, and being the president's daughter, people didn't really approach me. I felt a bit lonely until Michael started talking to me."
I looked at Michael with a mix of disgust and disbelief, but they mistook it for envy and began telling their love story. But knowing when they met, I understood why Michael's behavior had changed. I thought his attitude changed because of the increased workload after taking over my job. But it seems I was overthinking it. The simple truth was he was having an affair. When our daughter was born, he almost came back to us, but he chose the 19-year-old president's daughter over his newborn.
"So, your relationship started a while back, huh?"
That's not true.
"We started dating after our divorce, and it was a whirlwind proposal and marriage within half a day."
Sure. His explanation was obviously a lie. He must be worried I'd complain if he admitted their relationship started before our divorce. I don't have any evidence of their affair, so saying they started dating after the divorce must feel safe to him. But he doesn't have to worry. I'm not interested in pursuing the infidelity issue. It's not that I've given up. Something else has caught my attention. I continued the conversation, extracting the information I needed.
"I'm surprised the president agreed to your marriage with her. At first, he was strongly opposed. But she convinced him. My dad gives in to anything if I ask. A little crying and persistence does the trick."
They talked as if they had overcome great obstacles together. But it sounded more like the president caved in to avoid upsetting his daughter.
"Sophia, are you going to work at your dad's company after graduating?"
"Yes, that's the plan."
"And we're hoping Michael will join the company too."
"What?"
You're changing jobs? Of course, now that I'm married to Sophia, I have to work at her dad's company. I've already spoken to my current employer and am preparing to resign. So, the president has told you to join his company? No, I'm going to ask him next time. We haven't discussed it yet. But you've talked about marriage and not about work? I've asked the president for a big favor regarding the marriage, so I'm waiting a bit before asking for another favor.
It seems there's a trick to getting favors from the president. I could tell Sophia was completely spoiled by her father.
I'm glad I won't have to work with you anymore, but are you sure you want to quit a job you've had for so long? Of course. I'm Sophia's husband, right? I'll be welcomed with great terms. Who wants to work forever for a meager salary? Oops, you're still at that company. My bad. Great terms, but you haven't talked to the president yet, right? That's easy. If I ask, it'll be done in no time. I'm planning to ask the president to welcome Michael as the next CEO and train him. Next CEO, huh? That's a big jump.
They imagined a rosy future, looking very pleased with themselves. Watching this naive president's daughter and my ex-husband who had made a serious mistake, I began to feel amused.
I'm marrying a 19-year-old president's daughter. You're back to being single and lonely. Plus, you're not working right now, just a penniless person living off child support. When you return to work, please continue handling our company. Take care.
Satisfied with their happiness gloat, they waved at me with smiles and started to leave. Indeed, as Michael said, I'm currently on maternity leave and only receiving child benefits, not earning money from work. Even when I return, my salary will be average, so from a president's perspective, I might be considered poor. But Michael is making a big mistake. And the cause is right next to him, the president's daughter. Watching the president's daughter walk away, I imagined the kind of face my ex-husband, Michael, would soon make, and I couldn't help but burst into laughter.
You're not going to become a CEO. I'll work hard to become one. Don't be so smug in the end.
I just wanted to give him a warning, but he thought I was expressing sour grapes.
Impossible for you to become. Because what that girl says is.
I murmured softly, letting my inner thoughts slip out. If Michael had known the truth then, the damage might have been minimal. Such a pity. 3 months after running into Michael at the shopping mall, it was time to start preparing to return to work. I was gearing up to work hard again. Then, like a blow to my enthusiasm, I received a call from Michael. It seemed he had learned the truth.
Hey! Remember you said I couldn't become a CEO? Did you know?
His words were incomplete, but I knew what he meant. Yes, I knew.
No matter how much Mocha pleaded with her dad, making you CEO was impossible, right? Why didn't you tell me then? That Mocha's dad was just a hired CEO.
Michael sounded really panicked, his voice shaking. I wished I could see his expression over the phone. Indeed, Mocha's father was a hired CEO. It means there was an owner above him. The CEO manages the company but doesn't have the final say in crucial decisions. The decision about who will be the successor to the company is not something the CEO can decide on their own. Michael couldn't fix this, even with his usual efficiency. Sophia probably didn't know that her father was a hired CEO. Or maybe she didn't understand what that position entails. Otherwise, she wouldn't have suggested something as preposterous as welcoming Michael as the next CEO right away. At 19, it wouldn't be strange for her to be aware that her father was a hired CEO. However, she seemed to be indulged by her father, who holds the title of CEO, and didn't bother to understand the company's structure or her father's exact position. Additionally, while she worked part-time at the company, those around her, assuming she already knew, probably didn't bother to explain these details to her in depth.
That's why I warned you that you couldn't become a CEO. Damn it! I should have researched the company more. You might have realized it earlier if you had listened to my explanations when you took over my job.
I had handed over my work to Michael before my leave. He had taken only the necessary documents from me and didn't bother with the details. I learned about the hired CEO during casual conversations with the president, information not crucial enough for my reports. Michael's impulsive, efficient work style backfired.
I've already quit my job. What should I do now? Can't you just get a regular job there? Even a hired CEO has that much authority, right? That's the thing. Sophia and I are talking about divorce.
What? Really? I burst out laughing. How much more could this president's daughter and Michael amuse me? It was as if they were doing it on purpose to cheer me up.
We've only been married 3 months. She's always complaining, won't do housework, just wants to go out.
Well, that's typical for a 19-year-old college student. I had overlooked something important. Michael remarried a 19-year-old college student. At that age, they're full of life and love. Surrounded by others enjoying campus life, being married and restricted would be hard to bear. Especially for a president's daughter, spoiled by her father. Perhaps she initially liked Michael, but reality hit her after marriage. Michael's new wife likely married him in the heat of a passionate romance, but probably couldn't endure the gap between ideal and reality. It's understandable for a 19-year-old college student. Michael's choice to propose so quickly, thinking he'd benefit from marrying the president's daughter, was also to blame. In a way, she might be a victim too.
You didn't think about her at all, only about yourself.
It's your own fault. So, how's the divorce proceeding? She's 19, you know.
You better not be trying to manipulate her into getting back together. That's just it. I haven't been able to contact Sophia since she left the house.
Then how are you handling the negotiations?
The president got involved. Sophia ran back to her parents' house, asking her father for help. Then he contacted me. Said he won't forgive me for making his daughter cry. Told me to wait for a call from his lawyer.
I shuddered, imagining the angry president. He adored his daughter, showing off her pictures to others. Despite marrying her off, she returned home crying for help within 3 months. I can understand why he couldn't forgive that. Even as a hired CEO, a president is still a president. He has money and power. Given that such a person told him he wouldn't forgive him, it's no wonder that he is trembling in fear.
Emily, what do you think I should do?
I don't know.
Figure it out yourself.
I ended the call with a laugh. Feeling better knowing Michael was in trouble, I decided to take my daughter for a walk in the park. A few days after Michael's call, I received a call from Sophia. She wanted to meet me. I was a bit cautious, but the young president's daughter could also be seen as a victim of my ex-husband. Feeling somewhat sorry for her, I decided to meet her at a cafe nearby.
Sorry,
she said, handing me a clear file as soon as she sat down. Inside were printed messages and photos of her with Michael. It's evidence of the affair.
Why are you giving me this?
She didn't answer, just looked down. Well, her inability to answer probably says it all. Probably her father, the president, told her to give it to me. But if he had directed her to hand over evidence of an affair, that raised problems. So, this encounter was her way of apologizing for her actions. That's all there is to it. I hadn't planned to claim for the affair, but I needed to maintain a relationship with her father's company. I tucked the file into my bag, feeling burdened. He also needed to pay child support. But he was currently jobless. When we divorced, we split our savings, so I knew his financial situation. Michael had called me a penniless person, but it seemed like karma hit him harder. He needs to find a job fast, as his savings will quickly run out. I'm living with my daughter at my parents' house. Like Sophia, I'm relying on my parents. But I'm paying my rent and living expenses, unlike her. My daughter is growing well. With my job return approaching soon, I'm ready to work hard for the sake of my daughter.
Hey! You're late.
Tom looked at me with eyes that seemed to be scheming something. Next to him stood a girl. Then, he said something unbelievable. I'm going to live with this girl. If you don't like it, leave. I had suspected something was up when he brought her here, but I never thought he'd tell me to leave. The thought that our 10 years of marriage could end so easily made me incredibly sad and frustrated. But all the responsibility for this lies with Tom. I won't let him get his way. Now it's my turn. My name is Holly York. I'm a 37-year-old housewife who works for a major corporation. My husband, Tom, works in sales at a real estate company not far from our home. We met 11 years ago at a mixer party organized by an acquaintance. While everyone else was having a good time, I noticed a man who seemed out of place and uncomfortable. That was Tom. Normally, I wouldn't pay attention to a guy who didn't seem to fit in, but for some reason, I was drawn to him that night. No one else seemed to notice him, but I was the only one who approached and started a conversation with him.
Nice to meet you.
Tom's response was lukewarm, just a slight nod. But this gesture somehow attracted me even more. From there, I became very assertive. I didn't worry about being disliked, I just kept talking to him. Gradually, Tom started to open up, and before we knew it, we were at a different bar, just the two of us, leaving everyone else behind. This night led to us dating later on. A year after that, Tom proposed to me. Of course, I said yes. The year we spent together before getting engaged was a great opportunity to get to know each other better. There was no reason to say no. I vowed to spend the rest of my life with my beloved Tom, and we got married with blessings from everyone around us. I had been focused on my career. But finally, I had found happiness. Or so I thought until one morning. As I went to take out the trash, I opened the front door and saw a girl standing on the other side of the street, staring intently at our house. I tried to recall who she might be, but no one came to mind. I had never seen her around here before. Wondering if she needed something, I called out a distant good morning to her. Without saying anything, the girl ran away from the spot. What was that about? The girl had a blank expression and lifeless eyes. I felt a bit creepy. When I got home from work, I planned to talk to Tom about the girl. After finishing my job for the day, I headed home. I thought about preparing dinner and waiting for Tom, but then I remembered that for the past month, Tom had been swamped with work, staying late every day. On top of that, he even had to work on weekends, so we barely had any time to talk properly. I completely forgot about that girl. I decided to talk to Tom about it later and went to bed early that night. The next day, Tom had already left for work. Recently, we haven't had much of a conversation at all. It's a bit sad to think that this is what happens when you've been married for a long time. I wonder if that girl is out there again. When I opened the curtains of the bedroom and looked outside, the girl was standing in the same spot as yesterday, staring at our house. I quickly went downstairs, opened the front door, and stepped outside. I called out good morning to her again, but she ran away just like before. What's her deal? Even though it had only been 2 days, the image of the girl was already unsettling to me. And this continued for a week. I finally decided it was too important not to tell Tom about it. He got home around 11 p.m. Welcome back. Thanks, it's rare to see you up this late. As he was about to change his clothes, I stopped him, saying I had something to talk about. Tom looked a bit annoyed. I knew he must be tired from work. But I couldn't keep quiet after what had happened. So, here's the thing, I started. But as expected, he said. I'm tired. Let's talk about it later. He didn't even try to listen and went straight to the bathroom. I tried to talk to him, but he ignored everything. And went straight to bed. No luck. I thought to myself, deciding to stop relying on Tom and take action on my own. I had noticed that the girl always showed up around 7 a.m. in front of our house. Tom always leaves for work at 6 a.m. So he's unaware of her presence. The next day, just before 7 a.m., I positioned myself in front of the living room window, keeping the curtains closed, so the girl wouldn't notice me. Peeking through the curtain gap, I saw the girl arrive. She's here. Today, instead of going out the front door, I decided to sneak out the back. I quietly approached the girl and then said, "Good morning." How many times have I said that to her now? She looked startled and tried to run away, but I reached out and grabbed her arm, refusing to let go. I gripped her arm a bit tighter, determined not to release her. Surprisingly, she didn't resist.
Would you like some juice?
I found myself asking out of the blue. She nodded in agreement, which was a bit unexpected. It's a bit disconcerting. I asked her to wait a moment and went to get some juice. I half expected her to be gone when I returned. But she was still there.
Here you go,
I said, offering her the juice. She hesitated to take it at first.
It's okay, you can drink it.
Hearing that, she gently took the cup with her small hands and started drinking. As I watched her, I noticed something black on her arm.
Hey, what's your name?
When I asked her name, the girl showed a shy smile and told me. Shane.
Shane, that's a nice name.
After finishing her juice, Shane quickly went back home. I didn't ask why she came here every day or where she was coming from. She seemed like a very sincere child. I guess it's good she at least told me her name. I planned to slowly build a friendship with her. And ask more about her later. I thought that. However, things didn't go as smoothly as I hoped. The next day, Shane, who was usually there, was nowhere to be seen. The mornings are still cold, and it wouldn't be surprising if such a young child caught a cold from standing outside so early. So, I tried not to worry too much about Shane not showing up. But it wasn't just that day. Shane didn't appear the following day or the day after that either. Could she have caught a cold, perhaps? Another 2 weeks passed. She's not here today either. I'm really starting to worry that something might have happened. It was strange how concerned I was for a child who wasn't even mine. Because of that, it's even started to affect my work and household chores. This worry started to affect my work and household chores. If this continues, even Tom might get angry. He didn't say anything about my forgetfulness, nor did he seem to care at all. I had felt a sense of disconnect from Tom for a while now. After being married for 10 years, I wondered if his love for me had faded. I tried to convince myself that this was just stability in our marriage, but it felt empty. Then, 3 days later, while stopping by the supermarket after work, I saw a familiar figure in the distance. What? I was stunned to see Tom walking arm in arm with another woman, looking cozy together. Why? I couldn't believe what I was seeing and felt dizzy. I managed to calm myself down and decided to follow them. After trailing them for about 10 minutes, they arrived in a hotel district behind the train station. You're kidding, right? This can't be happening, right? He wouldn't do this, would he? I hoped, but my hopes were dashed as I saw Tom and the woman enter a hotel. Shocked, I stood frozen in place, feeling sick to my stomach. I ended up vomiting next to a telephone pole. I wanted to leave immediately. But I knew I couldn't run from this reality. I took out my phone from my bag and waited for Tom and the woman to come out of the hotel. I need to get evidence of his affair on my phone. 3 hours later, finally came out. Tom and the woman were all smiles. I quickly snapped photos. This should be enough evidence. I couldn't clearly see the woman's face as she was wearing a hat and sunglasses, but the photos should suffice as proof of the affair. Still, I felt uneasy with just the photos. From that day, I decided to give Tom some space and gather more evidence. 2 weeks have passed since then. My life has been busier than ever with work, household chores, and collecting evidence of Tom's infidelity. I've never been this busy before. I haven't been getting enough sleep, and my health is deteriorating. But I couldn't just stay put. It was during such a time, while I was getting ready to go to work, that the doorbell rang. Who could it be this early in the morning? My exhaustion from recent busyness and unending irritation was taking a toll. I swung the door open with force, only to find Shane standing there. Shane, who hadn't shown up for a whole month. Shane. What had she been doing all this time? Was she sick with a cold? I greeted her, saying it had been a while, but Shane was as quiet as ever. What brings you here today? Then, Shane handed me a fabric bag she was holding. What's this? Inside the bag, I found what looked like toys and a single photograph. As I pulled them out to look. What? I was faced with something utterly unbelievable. And at the same time, I discovered both the identity of Tom's affair partner and Shane's true identity. Everything connected unexpectedly from this unlikely source. Stunned by the truth, Shane said to me in a soft voice, "Big sister.
It's okay. Thank you for telling me."
Shane showed a relieved expression and then left. It's all good now, right? I thought to myself, glad I had prepared early. I was ready for whatever might come next. But what happened next came abruptly. When I got home from work, I saw Tom's shoes at the entrance. And next to them, another pair. I had a bad feeling as I headed to the living room, where I found Tom sitting on the sofa, fiddling with his phone.
"Hey! You're late,"
he said with a look in his eyes like he was up to something. Next to him sat a young girl. And then he said something outrageous. "We're going to live with this girl. If you don't like it, you can leave." I had suspected something was up when he brought her here, but I never expected to be told to leave. The thought that 10 years of marriage with Tom could end so easily made me feel incredibly sad and frustrated. But all of this, every bit of it, is Tom's responsibility. I won't let him get away with this any longer. Now it's my turn. I immediately responded to Tom. "So, you're okay with me leaving?" Because, you know. Tom tried to interrupt me mid-sentence, telling me to shut up. But I threw his words right back at him.
"You should be the one to keep quiet for a bit. What I'm about to say is very important."
"What?"
"Me being okay? I'm talking about your life from now on."
"Huh? What are you talking about, LOL? My life isn't going to end," he said, clueless about what I meant. That's when I explained the reason to him.
Infidelity and a child. With your current situation, just these words should be enough for you to understand what I'm getting at, right?
I took something out of my bag and showed it to Tom. His reaction was immediate. He started shaking uncontrollably. It's too late to be scared now. Although a bit sooner than I had planned, it's better to deal with such matters quickly.
That child is Shane, the one born to you and your mistress. I've known about it for a long time. Where did you get that?
I got all the information from Shane herself.
What?
Shane was Tom's child, a secret he had kept from me. Despite being married to me, Tom had an affair with another woman and even got her pregnant.
Shane, you went and did whatever you wanted.
Tom turned red with anger and raised his fist at Shane. However, Shane didn't even flinch. It's no surprise. She was used to such treatment.
So that's how you've been treating Shane, isn't it? Making sure not to leave any marks on her face.
Tom, caught off guard by my words, hastily tried to make excuses.
No, it's not like that. You know how it is, right? When a child does something wrong, you scold them. So this is just, a father's. What's different about it, Tom? Do you understand what you were about to do? Even if you hadn't done anything yet, what do you think people would say if they saw this?
I apologized to Shane and rolled up her sleeve, revealing black bruises on her slender arm.
This is the answer to what you were about to do. Who are you to talk about punishing bad behavior? Aren't you the root of all evil here? And suddenly playing the father card. Unbelievable. It's impossible for you to admit it just because I found out. That's what I can't stand about you.
I intended to remain calm, but I lost my temper seeing Tom only thinking about himself. Tom, seeing my fury for the first time, began to sweat profusely and fell silent, looking down. Shane then handed him something. Here. It was that same fabric bag. But what Shane was actually handing over wasn't the bag itself, but its contents. The same items I had seen before. Which indisputably proved Tom's affair. What? Shane said nothing. Why don't you open it and see? Then you'll understand. Tom cautiously opened the bag and peeked inside. His face turning pale before hastily closing it again. What's the matter? You look pale. He must not have expected to find such things inside. The bag contained photos of Tom, Shane, and a woman happily enjoying an amusement park. And a custom-made acrylic stand. With all three smiling. The woman with them was, indeed, Tom's mistress and Shane's mother. These photos and the acrylic stand were solid evidence of Tom's affair and that Shane was his daughter. It turns out, the amusement park they had visited was celebrating its 20th anniversary with a special event. Offering a gift of a custom-designed acrylic stand for families. Complete with their names. And there was more in the bag that I hadn't seen before. A family photo taken shortly after Shane was born. With Tom's, Shane's, and the mother's names written on the back. Seeing such a thing, it's no wonder you'd turn blue. It's all pretty awful. I blurted out without thinking. Just this alone makes it clear that Tom is an unbelievable man. But what's even more shocking is his affair partner. It turns out, Willow Turner, who is Shane's mother, is actually my boss. I found out that Tom and Willow have been having an affair for some time. And not just that, she's pregnant now. Can you believe it?
Why my boss? Was it because I introduced you to Boss Turner before we got married? Right, she was always oozing charm, so you got caught up too, huh? And now, a child? How much did you hustle?
Well, it must have been great, right? You're still sneaking off to hotels with her, leaving Shane all alone. I kept pressing Tom. It's clear from this that Tom and Willow have been faithful to their own desires. They've been paying people we know to take care of young Shane time and again.
You're the worst, both as a parent and a person.
Then, Tom suddenly got down on his knees.
I'm sorry. I never thought it'd come to this.
What are you saying now?
It was tough for me too. No matter how hard I tried, my boss wouldn't recognize my efforts, my colleagues were getting promotions, and I was left behind, feeling out of place at work. My salary is even lower than yours, why should I be the only one feeling miserable? I was stressed out too.
I was disappointed. All he could do was talk about himself. Stress, huh? So that's why you had an affair with her. I couldn't help it. Willow seduced me. What man wouldn't be swayed by a woman like that, oozing with allure? So, if you're gonna blame anyone, blame Willow. If she hadn't seduced me, none of this would have happened. It was just too much. I don't know how much Shane understood about this kind of thing, but he looked very sad. To think, his own father. I was infuriated. As I was thinking about how to give this man a taste of his own medicine, there was a loud snap. A dry sound echoed in the living room. What are you doing? Oh. My hand had moved on its own. Tom, with a shocked expression, held his cheek. Behind him, Shane seemed a bit pleased. After all the terrible things she'd endured, there must have been a lot built up inside her. So, I decided to put the final nail in the coffin for this awful man and called someone. Ah, yes. I'll be waiting. Who did you call? It's a secret. 15 minutes later, a man arrived at the house. He was a large, kind-looking man. Then, he looked at Tom and introduced himself in a low, angry voice as Mr. Turner. Eh? Mr. Turner?
You've done it now. You messed with my precious daughter and even got her pregnant.
Could it be? You know it. This man is Ms. Turner's father. The moment he heard that, Tom was stunned.
You're the lowest of the low as a human being. I can't forgive what you've done. You've sullied my daughter whom I've cherished and raised, getting her pregnant and having a child. Someone who messes up other people's lives like her isn't my daughter anymore.
His words, spoken in a low, pressurized voice, were enough to push Tom to the brink of despair. But it wasn't over yet.
Now it's my turn.
Of course, I'm divorcing you. Write your name on this right now. I thrust the divorce papers in front of Tom. But Tom was already in the depths of despair. Faced with the reality of divorce, he just looked off into the distance and laughed. My words were no longer reaching him. Whatever happened to that bravado of his? People change so much when they're pushed to their limits.
It seems any more would be a waste of time.
I'll be leaving now.
If my daughter calls, tell her that she's no longer my daughter, and I've cut ties with her.
Understood. I'll make sure to pass the message along. Thank you for coming despite your busy schedule. And then Mr. Willow's father left. Now it's just this guy. Just when I was wondering what to do with Tom, Shane handed me a cell phone. For me? I wondered who was calling and answered it.
Tom! It's terrible. The affair has become an issue at work. It seems Shane spilled the beans to the company. At this rate, I'll have to quit my job. Tom, help me.
Hello? Who's this? Good evening, Miss Turner. It's Holly York. Holly York speaking. There was silence from Willow's end of the phone. She seemed surprised that I was the one answering. You can hear my voice, right? Why is Holly York on the line? I mean, this phone is. Yes, it's my husband's phone. You're wondering why I'm answering, right? That's because my husband is in no state to answer the phone. He's been cornered after I found out about his affair with you, and now he's just staring off into space in shock, especially after your father gave him a piece of his mind. Of course, your daughter and my husband are here too. Oh, and by the way, you mentioned earlier that Shane was the one who spilled the beans about the affair at work, but guess what, it was me.
What?
Willow was clearly shaken by the flurry of surprising news, even over the phone. She seemed at a loss for words. I pressed on. Oh, and before I forget, I should tell you something. Your father said he no longer considers you his daughter and has cut off all ties with you. Huh? He was quite angry, so you might want to brace yourself. Then Willow screamed over the phone and started cursing at me. But at that moment, Shane reached out to me. Understanding his gesture, I handed him the phone. Mommy. I hate you. Bye-bye.
What? Wait.
Ignoring Willow's response, I hung up the phone. Then, Shane turned to me and spread his palm wide. We high-fived. A smile returned to Shane's face. That day, I divorced Tom, and Willow was also disowned and kicked out of her house. Later, I heard from an acquaintance that Willow, having her scandal spread throughout her company, had to resign. With nowhere to live, she ended up in a century-old rundown apartment, scraping by with day-to-day jobs and leading a poor life. As for Tom, he was fired from his job for frequently skipping work to be with Willow. His loyalty to his desires led him to strangle his own future. Now, he's living on the edge just like Willow, with no place to stay or money, doing day-to-day jobs. Of course, he's still paying alimony every month. And me? The divorce spurred me to dive deeper into my work. 6 months later, I was promoted to manager, and further career advancement is already within my sight. While work is fulfilling, it does come with stress. But now, I have the best stress reliever.
I'm home. Big sis, welcome home.
I had adopted Shane after all that happened.
Today we're having Shane's favorite, steak. Yay!
The once quiet and expressionless Shane now shows such adorable smiles. I vowed to cherish this life forever.